I am not sure if the following content is true or false. I just take gossip, rumor, and tea from gossip blogs, magazines, books, wherever I can find it, and I ball it all together and I tell you guys a story. I did this new intro because I was bored, so anyways, let's get to it.
So listen to this. My husband has been hearing me talk about my ritual multivitamins, how they contain 9 high-quality nutrients like D3 and omega-3, which are super hard to get enough of every day. Or he heard me talk about how they're vegan-friendly, non-GMO, gluten-free, allergy-free, and how they don't have any added sugar. I caught his behind sneaking into the kitchen trying to take some of my doggone vitamins, but the tee-hee-hee was on him because, sir, those vitamins are exclusively made for women. But I told him not to worry, and I ordered him Ritual Essential Multivitamins for Men. Then he gonna get his vitamins and turn into the Ritual King, honey. Talking about he liked the way they are transparent and basically show everything that's in their vitamins. Boy, go on, I know all that. I was taking Ritual first. When we are not fussing over who the vitamin know-it-all is, we take our vitamins every day in order to build for a healthy future. Y'all can join right along with us. On top of men's and women's, they also offer vitamins for 50 plus, prenatal, postnatal, kids, teen, even essential protein range vitamin. All you gotta do is click the link below and use my exclusive code at checkout, and baby, boom, 20% off of your first month. Now that that's out the way, it's time for the percolator. It's time for the percolator. And I have percolated myself right into a new outfit and a new hairstyle. This is Ashley with Ashley Says So, and I am back with another Old Hollywood Scandals video with gossip and tea from yesteryear that we got to know about, honey. Especially in this case because, baby, I ain't never heard nothing like it. Today we are going to talk about the very scandalous, the very outlandish, and the very outrageous Mr. Marlon Brando. Let's get to it. Marlon Brando Jr. was born in Omaha, Nebraska on April 3rd, 1924. His father's name was Marlon Brando Sr., a pesticide and chemical feed manufacturer, and his mother's name was Dorothy Julia Pennebaker. Marlon also had 2 sisters named Jocelyn and Frances. Now, regarding Marlon's childhood, it was very unhappy due to problems with his parents. His mother, Frances, was a raging alcoholic who used to basically go to bars just to pass out. Her husband used to have to come and get her and drag her home from the bar. And as her children grew older, they had to do the same. And his father, Marlon Sr., could not stand his son. Any and everything that Marlon Jr. did, it was never good enough for his daddy. He always found fault in him. Baby, all he heard was criticize, criticize, criticize. And honestly, it was a lot like Marvin Gaye was with his father. Ain't that crazy now that I think about it? Because Marvin Gaye Sr. and Jr. and then Marlon Sr. and Jr. So basically, it was pretty much the same. And outside of Marlon going through this with his parents, there were also some other ridiculous behaviors that were going on when he was a child. One of these was the fact that he had a teenage governess who seemed to have a sickness in her mind. This girl used to put Marlon in the wash tub and then take off all her clothes, get in the wash tub with him, as well as sleep naked beside him and make sure he was sleeping naked as well. Then she used to lay on her side like this and allow that child to touch on her, and per gossip, when she got him comfortable doing this, then she started actively sexually assaulting him. And this really messed with the child's mind. He didn't really know what was going on. He couldn't comprehend. All he knew is that, he liked this. You know what I'm saying? He liked this attention. He liked this affection. So he grew a very strong attachment to his governess. So much so that when the girl grew up and ended up getting married and leaving the household, Marlon had a fit. He threw a tantrum because he did not want her to go anywhere because he was so attached to her. It affected him so much that it is said that even in his elderly years, he still used to mourn and opine for his governess. He missed her. He loved her. And per his words, like when she left, that's when everything started to crumble in his life. And the effect of his life crumbling, whether it's dealing with his mother, his father, governess, or anything else that might have happened, started showing very early on. Marlon started to develop this personality of, first of all, not caring about anything, and second of all, of like being a jerk or an outsider or just like messy. And if you did not like the way he got down, then to heck with you. And this trait of acting out and not caring was made very clear when Marlon went to school and told his classmates, "Hey y'all, come watch this," and proceeded to ride his motorcycle down his high school hallways. Now his classmates might have gotten a kick out of this, but the staff was not amused at all. And so Marlon found his little behind expelled. Now eventually when Marlon turned around 16 18 years old, he and his sisters made their way to New York, where Marlon took up acting classes and also started sleeping with folks' wives. And it was just a scandalous thing, child, because one of the wives he was sleeping with was a woman named Celia, and her husband was in the military. And while the neighbors were giving the husband army salutes, Celia was in the house saluting Marlon with backshot. And baby, they was bold too, because it is claimed that one of their favorite pastimes was going doggy style or from the back while Celia was on the phone. Honey, they say they made a game of her trying to hold in the moans while she was on the phone. Now, I'm not sure if any of these callers was ever her husband, but honey, can you imagine if it was? Yikes. And that ain't even the half of it, honey. They say that Marlon made his way over there to Harlem and didn't want to leave. And them black women ought to be ashamed of themselves, child. Honey, the folks say that them women passed around that little cute white boy so much, it's a wonder that that boy had a pelvis left. And it wasn't all them. Not by a long shot, because honey, the books say that Marlon could not get enough of those dark-skinned, dark-eyed women. And I mean all dark-skinned, dark-eyed women. From black women to mixed-race women to Hispanic women to Latin to everybody women. And even though Marlon Brando went through a whole ocean, honey, I mean a whole sea of black booties, there was one black booty who took him down through there. And that was this Jamaican woman who had moved to the U.S. named Floretta. Marlon Brando said that Floretta had a distinctive look to her eyes, and they had a twinkle in them, and it just made him feel like he was just falling into her eyes when he looked at her. He truly admired Floretta, and it was possible that they could have turned into something, but Floretta ended up leaving the U.S. to go back to Jamaica. Now, while Marlon was having women for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, he did find time to take his acting classes, and he went to the Stella Adler Acting School. And pretty soon, his different side showed up there too. Gossip claims that in one class, Stella told the whole classroom to act as if they were chickens and a nuclear bomb was about to drop. Of course, that's all you saw. Everybody acting a dang on fool, honey. But Marlon was sitting in the corner doing this. Stella was sitting up there looking at him like, Marlon, what is you doing? I told you you're a chicken and a bomb is coming. And Marlon promptly tells her, I'm a chicken, lady. What do I know about bombs? I don't care about no bombs. So I'm sitting over here doing what chickens do, and that's trying to lay an egg. Then after this, Stella was sitting up there looking crazy, sitting up there talking about something, all right. Now in 1944, Marlon Brando finally got his first real taste of acting, and that's when he started in Broadway in a play called I Remember Mama. He also starred in some stage productions with Tallulah Bankhead, and around this time when he was on Broadway and with Tallulah Bankhead and all this good stuff, it was a whole bunch of folks who could not stand his tail, and that is because Marlon would pick and choose when he wanted to act. Sometimes he went up there and he was a natural. Bravo, bravo, Marlon. And then other times he went up there and he mumbled his lines like he was just somebody from off the street. And he also did crazy stuff like made facial expressions that did not mirror his line, like this. Sally, I'm so glad to see you. When of course this was a smiling, excited line. And this was a really early sign of the way Marlon Brando would be for the rest of his life. It was like things could not go right for him. He didn't want things to go right. Like he always had to mess something up. If things were going too perfect, Marlon was going to do something to mess that up. He was like Talladega Nights. You remember Ricky Bobby Daddy sitting up there just couldn't get right? That's what Marlon Brando was. That's how he behaved. And even though Marlon was doing all of this, his profile, his status still grew. And that is because when he acted right, the boy put on a great show. And then, holy smokes, have you seen the guy? Have you seen the way he looks? Jesus H. Christos. He was one of the first man's man on screen. Not some scrawny rich lover boy or rich preppy husband. No, Marlon brought in that stout stature, that manly looking thing, that country boy that just came out the fields. You know what I'm saying? He brought in that hunkiness. And the ladies, as well as the casting directors, just could not get enough of this. And in 1951, he starred in his first big movie, and this movie was called A Streetcar Named Desire. And Scandalites and Said So Squad. When that big hunk of man meat walked up on that screen, all you heard was a gasp from the audience, honey. Some of the ladies even let out a small yelp. Hollywood history says that just the masculine sexual energy that he exuded from the screen child, just made some women in the audience have to pat their head with a wet cloth just to cool down. He simply looked desirable. As a matter of fact, he looked like the word desire, like He was the actual word. And since that movie was a big movie, a lot of those ladies in that audience, that was their first time seeing him. And after that first time, they of course needed more. So after A Streetcar Named Desire, Marlon started to get way more prominent roles. And one thing is for certain, the boy definitely was not playing any side character. Baby, wasn't no guest appearances, no cameos, nothing like that, because there was no way to do that. He was such a force of energy. If you tried to put him in a movie as a cameo or some little side character or something like that, Marlon was so beautiful at this time, he would literally suck the energy out of the rest of the movie. Like, nobody would care about what was going on after he walked off screen. Pretty much everybody in the audience would still be wondering, like, I wonder what was going on with that guy that came in screen. Like, what's going on with him? They would focus much more on what his character was doing than the rest of the movie. And with this going for him, he was starting to build a reputation as a leading man of Hollywood. And then in 1954, he was cast in a movie called On the Waterfront. And honey, when I tell you Marlon showed out, while everybody else was sticking to the script and talking and acting like robots, Marlon was improvising a lot of his scenes. And one of these improvisations made him a star. And the only thing that Marlon did that made him considered the greatest actor alive was to put on a glove. That's it. That's all. Marlon Brando put on a glove and changed the course of Hollywood history. Let me tell y'all why. When you think back to old black and white movies in the 40s or the early 50s, you know, the Joan Crawford movies, the Cary Grant, Gregory Peck, Betty Davis movies, how do you picture them acting? I'll tell you how they were acting. Oh, George, I don't understand. You haunt me with memories of her. Or this. Now see here, kid, you listen good. I've told you the way I feel and there's nothing more to say. Now either you get in line or you get lost. It's very stiff and it's very movie-like. Like, you could tell these people were acting. Nobody in real life talks like that. Nobody in real life moved like that. And Marlon Brando understood this. So in this particular scene that he improvised, he is walking along, talking to a female, and she ends up dropping her glove on the ground. Well, Marlon very naturally, very realistically, picks up the glove while he's still talking to her, you know, still walking. He's just talking to her, fumbling with the glove, and then he puts the glove on his hand in mid-conversation. And it doesn't seem like much, but that is the point. It was regular, normal behavior. That is something that a regular person, like having a conversation with a friend, start fiddling with something and then like put a glove on his hand or something like that. Like, it was normal. It was not stiff, it was not uptight, and it was not acting. It was just a normal reaction. And it was a huge deal. Everybody in the studios lost their freaking mind. Some people was like, cut it out. And then somebody in the know was like, no, you better not cut that out. We are leaving this in here. This boy is about to make history. And that is what he did. He literally changed the face of cinema. He is the father of modern cinema because of this. And when people saw this, when this movie went out to the critics and the audiences and all this kind of stuff, Marlon Brando suddenly became the best thing since sliced bread. So much so that he became an Oscar nominated actor, and then that very soon turned into an Oscar winning actor, and that is when he won Best Actor for On the Waterfront. And after this, it is off to the stars for Marlon Brando and off to the rumor mill for you and me, honey, because woo, child, we got a lot of tea to sort through, and y'all make sure y'all stay to the end because the last tidbit of gossip is gonna make y'all eyes roll around in y'all's head. First off, let's start with some of the basic stuff, some of the weird stuff. Now, honey, the folks say that if you messed around and let out a good, long, loud poot around Marlon, honey, you'll start feeling something sniffing your behind, child. Said that you might find Marlon down there sniffing and possibly trying to lick your crack, child. He loved flatulence so much. One person said that he loved it so much that he used to share with them his dream of creating a phone line called Dial a Fart. And on this phone line, he would get different celebrities to poot so he can record their poots and then play the poots back on the phone line. Whoever the caller is, I'm sorry, y'all. Whoever the caller is would have to guess which celebrity made that poot. And then another person said that Marlon would let out these big, long, raunchy, stinking poots, child, with his women or whoever he was dating, and then he would hold the women by the arm to make sure that they didn't try to get away so they can sit up there and bask in the ambience, honey. Bask in the ambience. And then I gotta hit y'all with one more poot story, because it's claimed that while Marlon was in a elevator full of people, all right, he let out a long, nasty poot. And then when he did it, he was like, oh, who did that? Somebody is nasty. And then he turned to this little Asian woman that was standing beside him and was like, woo, shucks, you really had to let it go, didn't you? And the Asian woman was absolutely shocked and embarrassed. And then after it quieted back down, he let out another long poot. And they said this one was stinking, child. Said it had folks in the elevator gagging and everything. Baby, don't you know he turned back to that Asian woman again and was like, woo, listen, doll, I understand you gotta let it go, but you got to stop doing this. This is getting to be a bit much, don't you think? And somebody said something about that little Asian woman running out the elevator crying or something. And then you had this rumor about his fascination with electric eels. He wanted to put electricity through his house or illuminate his house with electric eels. He thought that he could get a whole bunch of eels and put them in the pool and then have a wire or some kind of something coming from the pool to his house to light up his home. And he actually was supposedly gathering eels to do that, but he only ended up with one eel. Put it in his pool, didn't tell anybody. So his son came over and brought his girlfriend, and the girlfriend sitting up there trying to look cute and jumped in the pool. Baby, they said that eel about shocked her to death, honey. Said she jumped up so high from the shock that she ended up on the concrete beside the pool. And then this next little bit of tea said that he loved morning breath, child. Said that he told his secretary, let me smell your breath. And the secretary was like, no, I don't want that. Said he grabbed her by the arm and was like, you gonna let me smell your breath. Now open up. Yeah! And that yeah was him opening up her mouth to smell her breath. And then he took a deep breath, inhaling it all in, and kind of walked off like fulfilled, but kind of slumbering like, woo, kind of happy that he smelled the breath. And then some about that woman was sliding down the wall crying too. And then somebody said that when Marlon Brando got on the subway, everybody would look at him like he was crazy, because when he got on, he would sit down, pull out some bread, break it up, and then put the bread in his ears, and then just be looking around at folks like, he ain't done nothing. Now let's talk about Marlon Brando's sex life. And baby, this man was definitely the Wilt Chamberlain of his day. He had sex with almost everybody. And it said that sex to him was just like eating. Like it was a daily thing that he had to have multiple times a day. That's just what it was. Similar to JFK. And was disrespectful about it too, honey. The folks say that one time they was over at his house and he had woke up and he was like, oh, who am I gonna F today? And then when he turned around, all he saw was this. And that was the face of the woman that he was just with the night before, still laying in the bed beside him. Listen to this. It's claimed that at one point he was sleeping around with a married woman, but he was cool with her husband. Well, he and the woman were sneaking around at his house and he was pumping good. And then the door opened and it was the woman's husband. Immediately, all hell supposedly broke loose. And Marlon was sitting on the bed just like this, looking and smiling, because come to find out, he was the one that had called the husband over there. Had basically told him the day before, hey, stop by my house at 9 a.m. so we could chill, knowing that he was gonna have that man's wife over there. Now, most people grew up thinking that Marlon Brando only liked women, but child, that man likes a man TT too. In fact, one of his earliest experiences was said to be with a man named Wally Cox. And Wally Cox was an actor, and he and Marlon had been friends since childhood. Well, there is no definitive proof that Wally and Marlon messed around with each other, but many people assumed that they messed around with each other because Marlon Brando had been quoted as saying several times that Wally was the love of his life. Wally was everything, and he said if Wally had been a woman, that's who he would have married, and he would have been happy like forever. He was so dedicated to Wally and Wally to him that when Wally ended up having a heart attack in the 70s, I believe, he was only 48 years old, he ended up having a heart attack. Wally's wife ended up getting him cremated. Marlon came over there just a crying and just a bawling and, asking her, let me have those ashes, please. I want to scatter those ashes for you. And the wife is like, no, I kind of want to scatter my own husband's ashes. And Marlon is like, we had this connection. He was my best friend. Please give me this honor. Like, I want to scatter his ashes. And so the wife gave him the ashes. Don't you know that Marlon Brando never scattered the ashes? Kept the ashes at his house, and even said that over the years he talked to those ashes. Like, he still talked to Wally, but of course Wally was ashes. But that's not the point. That's that woman's husband, and you done lied about them ashes. And another early experience it said that Marlon had with homosexuality was when he was in the military. And baby, it is claimed that Marlon was knocking over cadets, majors, sergeants, captains. Baby said he had them all screaming man down. And then, of course, it is alleged that one night Richard Pryor came to Marlon Brando's house for a party, and they were making eyes at each other all night. And then, by the end of the night, they both had sent their little lady friends home. And I imagine when everybody else left, that honey, they proceeded to knocking over books all off the shelves, knocking over TVs, and then one of them probably proceeded to put the other one up on the counter, and most likely did some real passionate kissing before moving it to the bedroom. That probably was playing while they was getting it on. I don't know. Then, honey, the gossip claims that Marlon and an actor named Christian Marquand used to bring a whole bunch of different women home and used to run a train on these. But Chai said they would start on the doggone girl and then end up with each other. And the girl sitting up there on the bed looking like... Why come it said that one time he was doing a train with his friend Carlo Fiore. So they meet this pass-around girl, they bring her to the room, and they start their train, and Marlon is going first. And so while Marlon is going, Carlo is just kind of laying down with his eyes closed. Then Carlo starts to feel the woman stroking his face, so, you know, he's feeling like it's his turn. Child, why come there was Marlon Brando stroking his face? And then when Marlon got caught, he still didn't stop. Said that he was stroking that man's face and looking him in the eyes, talking about something. I just didn't want you to feel left out. And there's this other story about Marlon and Carlo. One night while Carlo was sleeping, Marlon came into the room, honey, pulled down Carlo's pants, and then pulled down his own pants and started picking the lice out of his pubes because he had crabs. Started picking the lice out of his pubes and putting them on Carlo's pubes. And then the next day, Marlon was around Carlo all day just waiting on him to start scratching. Finally, Carlo ended up scratching his junk. And so Marlon is like, yes, you got crabs, don't you? You got crabs, don't you? And Carlo was like, no, I don't have any crabs. And so Marlon ended up telling him what he did the night before, and Carlo was like, you know, man, that is messed up. What is wrong with you? I'm lying. Actually, Carlo went and got some tweezers, and then he went down there and started picking out all the lice out of Marlon Brando's crotch. And then I imagine that Marvin Gaye's phone just ended up ringing, and then when he picked it up, Marlon Brando was on the other end singing Let's Get It On. And honey, I imagine Marvin just went to dancing, baby. He just went to twirling around. You know, I'm not sure if he had on that robe and slippers that he usually wore, but if he did, when Marlon showed up at the house later that day, baby, that robe and slippers came all the way off. And next thing you know, Marlon and Marvin rolled up in the bed. The folks definitely did say that they messed around. Then somebody said Marlon Brando had James Dean tied up to the shower, said that he was beating his back with a whip, baby. And then after that, Marlon would come to the front and proceed to pleasure James Dean. And all of those are, I'm sure, complete doozies. But honey, here go the homosexual smackdown. And this is the tea on the streets, that Marlon Brando messed around with James Baldwin. And honey, the folks said that James Baldwin had Marlon Brando swallowing black candy bars all night. Said that James Baldwin thought Marlon's mouth was so top notch that, baby, he took a picture of it. Look in the description to fall out like I'm finna. Word on the street is that the Hollywood bombshells and the Hollywood glamour girls could not stand Marlon Brando because it's claimed that he did not give them the time of day, and they wanted him so bad. Now they say that Liz Taylor almost got him, but child, Marlon looked at her boost and was like, you can have them bimbos, I'll keep my women like Flojo. Said he told Liz to take her and her flat pancake booty home, honey. Said she ain't have enough back there for him. Then they said he was about this close to giving Sophia Loren the D. He leaned in to kiss Sophia. Child said when he leaned back, his face was covered in black smoke. Sophia's breath was so doggone stinking, child. Baby said he passed out in 1954 and didn't wake up till 1991. Now there was one glamour girl and bombshell that he just simply could not resist, and this was said to be Marilyn Monroe. And the story says that Marilyn spotted him at a party and he had his back towards her. So Marilyn starts fixing her dress, you know what I'm saying, and she's smooching up her boobs, you know, and she puts them shoulders back like I always say. Got her best Marilyn Monroe walk going on, and she taps him on the shoulder. Next thing you know, they said, this all you saw. Because when Marlon turned around, he had his elbow like this and elbowed Marilyn Monroe in the side of the head. But it said that she ended up laughing it off, and then she went home and laughed all over Marlon. Another actress that he actually had a relationship with was Rita Moreno. It is claimed that he and Rita Moreno was together for like probably 10 years or more off and on. And while they were together, he married other women, got other women pregnant, completely did Rita wrong, but she kept letting him come back, or she kept coming back to him. And here's the bad thing about it. During the time that he and Rita were dating, she ended up getting pregnant. Marlon told her, you can't have that baby. And Rita was like, why not? You letting everybody else have your baby. And Marlon was like, I don't care about what you're saying. You can't have that baby. So he set up an illegal abortion, and it almost killed her. It was a botched abortion. So she ended up in the hospital. Marlon comes to the hospital, and the first thing he says is, I can't believe I didn't sit up there and paid all that money to that abortion person. I need my money back. He's sitting up there botching stuff. Didn't even ask about Rita's health. Didn't care about her health. But she still got with him again. And then I think it was a second marriage he had on her. So she ended up taking a lot of pills and trying to commit suicide. She survived that. And then after that ordeal, Marlon disappeared. And speaking of Marlon being married, it is claimed that he got married 3 times. The first woman's name was Anna Kashfi. And with her, he had a son named Christian. And then his second wife was Movita Castaneda. And with her, he had Miko Brando and Rebecca Brando. And then his third wife was Tarita Terapaya. And they had Cheyenne Brando, Simon Brando, Ratua Brando, and Mamiti Brando. And Marlon was a no-count husband to all of these women. He cheated on them like there was no tomorrow. In fact, on the morning of his wedding with his first wife, Anna, his friends and his secretary, I believe, came into the room to wake him up. And Marlon is laying there with another woman. But yet and still, he gets up out of the bed talking about, today is the day, yeah! And all this kind of stuff, getting ready. Like you ain't just messed with another woman. One of the hot spots that I gotta hit, honey, is Marlon Brando's eating habit. Baby, the folks say that his eating habits got so weird, there was probably somebody scared that when he was performing cunnilingus, he was gonna actually start eating the woman, like for real, for real. The man would eat anything in sight. On movie sets, he would order 2 12-ounce steaks, 2 baked potatoes, 2 whatever of the whole meal. He ate so much, his wife even ended up chaining the refrigerator so he wouldn't come and eat up everything in the refrigerator while she was sleeping night. And then the next morning, she walks in there and she is so happy to see the chain still on the refrigerator, but when she gets close, baby, she gets a cold chill run up her spine, honey. She's looking at the chain, but she can see on the refrigerator handle, Marlon has left bite marks on the handle, like he was trying to bite through the chain and the handle to get into the refrigerator. And if that don't stir up something in you, baby, this next bit of tea will. Baby, the folks say that Marlon was shooting a movie and the set was beside a riverside, and in between takes, he spotted a frog. He picked up the frog out of the riverbed, bit a chunk out of the frog, looked at it, and tossed the rest of the frog back into the river. The folks around him were like, they better than me, because baby, I wouldn't have been moving slow. Honey, the only thing you would have seen was my back getting smaller and smaller and smaller, because I would have been gone. And as he got older and had these children, his life became even more outrageous. There was one woman he was messing around with by the name of Jill Banner. She had got jealous because he had cheated on her with somebody or something like that. And so Jill slept with his son Christian to get back at him. Then another rumor, which is again about his secretary, says that the secretary herself was having a bad day. She was kind of moping and sitting there, and all of a sudden Marlon comes and he's standing behind her and he puts a hand on her shoulder and he's like, you know, you look so down, you look so sad. And she's like, everything is really going wrong. And so Marlon is like, you know what, I'm going to gift you something. I want you to go down on your knees and I'm gonna let you suck my. And the woman is like, what? And Marlon sitting up there talking about some shh, say nothing, darling. I'm going to gift this for you. I will do this for you. This next rumor is about a woman that he was dating named Esther Anderson. She and Marlon were in the countryside and they ended up visiting a church. And nobody was in this church. They just basically kind of went inside and was looking around to explore. Esther is walking around when suddenly she hears and she looks at the front of the church. Marlon is standing there in front of a statue of Christ, honey, with his arms out and his pants down, like naked from the waist down, just standing there laughing maniacally, I guess mocking Christ. I don't know what the heck he was doing. And that same lady, Esther, says another time she and Marlon were in a restaurant and he got upset with her and he started to beat her with a stick of butter and tried to shove it up her nose. And then there's this rumor about everybody at a Hollywood party and all of a sudden they start seeing this figure kind of run by. You know them ghost movies when the figure just kind of run by like that? And said that Marlon kind of creeped in around the door looking like this and was again naked from the waist down with a flower sticking from his booster. And then that that woman, Esther Anderson, said because she could not take the beatings, she could not take him cheating on her, she could not take all of this, she ended up taking a overdose of pills and trying to kill herself as well. Well, she actually was on the floor half dead, and Marlon came in and saw her on the floor. He took off his clothes and, in his words, made love to her. But of course, that ain't no doggone making love. You sexually assaulted her. And the gossip actually says that this lady was in a coma while he was doing this. She was in a coma on the floor. He did this to her, and then I'm guessing after that he got her help. Speaking of sexual assault, there is another story out about Marlon Brando sexually assaulting somebody. This time he supposedly sexually assaulted an actress, and it was shown in the movie. This movie was called Lost Tango in Paris, and the actress's name was Maria Schneider. And in the movie, the scene is an actual rape where Marlon Brando rapes her character, but it's claimed that while they were filming, Marlon felt like the best way to capture this scene was to make Maria show real emotion, like real shock of being raped. So while he was holding her down and her booster was up in the air because it showed her naked booster, he took a stick of butter and shoved it up her booty. And what is up with this man and sticks of butter? And then back to Marlon's family, not only is it claimed that he treated his wives like crap, it is said that he treated his children like crap. It is claimed that Marlon had possibly around 13 to 15 children altogether, and it's said that he was not really there for any of them. And I think Christian may have been allowed to call him dad, I think, but I know for a fact it's claimed that none of the other kids could call him dad. And honey, they say that the son Christian was a beast, child. When that boy was like 3 or 4 years old, he used to go around kicking folks in the shin, biting folks' kneecaps, biting their ankles and everything like a gremlin, and then take off running like Chucky. And that tea ain't nothing compared to the tea with Marlon Brando and his daughter Cheyenne. Word on the streets is that Cheyenne had some very big mental problems. This may have been caused by sexual abuse by not only Marlon, but her brother Christian. And a lot of people feel like this is why her brother Christian took the route that he did. Let me tell y'all the story. Now, in May of 1987, Cheyenne began dating a guy named Dag Drollett. Well, by May of 1990, Cheyenne was pregnant with Dag's baby. Well, on May the 16th, 1990, Cheyenne rushed to her brother Christian, crying and screaming and saying that Dag had beat her up. Well, Christian, her brother, just went absolutely insane. He went and got a gun and he shot Dag Drollett dead. Well, as soon as he did, it is alleged that Cheyenne all of a sudden is screaming and crying and saying, you know, oh my God, what did you do? I lied. He did not jump on me. I lied. He did not beat me. Well, this whole trial goes on. They tried to charge Christian with murder, but they needed Cheyenne to testify in the trial or at least give evidence, and she did not. She was actually shipped to a mental hospital. So Christian ended up getting manslaughter and he had to spend 5 years in prison. Well, in the next few years after this murder happened, a rumor on the street says that Cheyenne went and told almost anybody who would listen that first of all, she lied about Dag beating on her, and second of all, that her father Marlon had been sexually molesting her from since she was 7 years old. And she was said to have said that this happened up until the time that she met Dag. So this must have happened from 7 years old till the girl was probably around 17, 18 years old. But the thing is, nothing has been confirmed and nobody ever really knew what to believe because Cheyenne had supposedly lied on Dag and got him killed. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of like, if she's gonna lie on Dag, you know, maybe she lied on her father, but it never could be proven. Nobody knew what was going on because Cheyenne ended up in 1995 taking her own life, having committed suicide by hanging. And just to let you know, on top of all of this mental stuff, it is claimed that Cheyenne was on drugs, and then the son that she had given birth to, Dag's child, had been taken from her. So she had a lot of stuff going on. Now, these two children, Cheyenne and Christian, were said to be some of Marlon's favorite kids. After this stuff happened with both of them, Marlon really ended up losing it, or so it said, and he became like a complete hermit. He didn't want to show his face anymore. He was becoming even more eccentric than he already was. His grandson, the son that Cheyenne had, it is said that when that child was 10 years old, Marlon and his ex-wife, Cheyenne's mother, set up for that boy to go through an exorcism, child, and basically had a priest to come out and exorcised the boy's father from him. They said Dag's spirit had taken over the boy, and they made that child go through an exorcism. I don't know what's going on at this point, y'all. And we are now basically at the end, but baby, stick around, honey, because this last bit of tea is definitely about to have y'all sitting up there with your hair blew back. Also, some X's over y'all eyes, because y'all gonna fall out. Now, by the time the 1970s hit, it is claimed that Marlon was being tested for diabetes, and he ended up having diabetes type 2. Sometime after that, he ended up getting liver cancer, and his treatments for his diabetes and his liver were not going well because Marlon just was not healthy. And then on July 1st, 2004, Marlon ended up passing away from respiratory failure, which came from pulmonary fibrosis. He was 80 years old. Now, honey, get ready to have your eyes crossed up because it's finna get messy. Real messy. Now, baby, listen at this. Marlon Brando had plenty of children with his housekeeper. He was pretty much Arnold Schwarzenegger before Arnold Schwarzenegger. Well, honey, it is claimed that Marlon had some type of guest at his house, and they were having a party that was more like a rave. That housekeeper was pregnant with one of his children. It is claimed that that housekeeper ended up miscarrying the baby right there on the carpet. Marlon Brando is rumored to have went and got a coffee cup as well as a spoon, got down on his hands and knees and scooped up the stillborn baby into the coffee cup, and said that after he got all of the baby and the blood and everything into the cup, he went around to all of the guests and was like, "Taste the zygote. Taste the zygote." I mean, what the heck is going on, y'all? Like, listen, I knew I was finna find some crazy weird stuff on Marlon Brando, but I did not think to find anything like this. And honey, after this, there's only one thing to do. So anyways, go ahead and click like and subscribe and comment on this video and share. I love you guys so much. And once again, please like the video, guys. Please like the video. It will help me out so much. But anyways, I will be back with another video soon. Bye.